Hi, and welcome to another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist. I am your host, Dennis Richkovsky. Some of you recognize me as the co-owner of Flip Flops Donuts, and some of you know me as your broker of real estate, specializing in waterfront and water view properties along the Crystal Coast, especially in my town of residence, Emerald Isle, North Carolina. Emerald Isle is one of many barrier island communities located from Montauk on the eastern tip of Long Island to San Padre Island just north of Brownsville, Texas. My channel focuses on those barrier islands known as the Outer Banks. The Outer Banks are located wholly in North Carolina, and these islands each are unique in their geology, their natural island characteristics, and their relative risks vis-a-vis property damage mitigation. Numerous scientific studies of post-storm impacts on these Outer Bank islands and their communities point to several salient features, some natural, some man-made, that define how safe it is to live on a barrier island. I have touched on many of these features in other episodes, and they are summarized below. First, wide beaches protect property. Wide beaches are better suited than narrow beaches for absorbing storm wave energy, and the greater distance between the zone of wave action and a building, the better. Look at Central and Western Emerald Isle as examples. Second, dunes also protect property. Dunes absorb and dissipate storm wave energy, thus providing a protective barrier for buildings located behind dunes. Where dunes rather than buildings are available for absorbing the impact of storm wave energy, post-storm, the beaches are wider. In essence, the dune acts as a bank of sand for a stormy day, and this is why dune width is significant. And if dunes are sufficiently high, they can also afford buildings the protection from wind. Other good examples of that would be in Central and Western Emerald Isle as well. Do you need any other reason for not removing a dune wherever it is located on a barrier island? Third, vegetation protects property. Not only should every grain of sand be conserved, but every effort should be taken to retain as much forest as possible. Think of Pine Knoll Shores and Western Emerald Isle. And where trees have been removed, every effort should be made to encourage reforestation. Reforestation usually begins by rebuilding the dunes and stabilizing these dunes with vegetation. Fourth, setbacks protect property. When selecting a beachfront property, seek a property set well back from the ocean and choose a property sufficiently deep so as erosion threatens, the property can be moved. Examples include the 7000s blocks of the western third of Emerald Isle. In the end, setbacks are the least expensive property mitigation strategy available to homeowners. Fifth, elevation protects property. Elevation may be the most important property mitigation strategy. Constructing on pilings on natural land elevation mitigate damage from storm wave heights, as does siting a building outside the FEMA 100-year flood elevations. Here again, you can look to central and western areas in Emerald Isle. Sixth, adherence to enlightened zoning, land use planning, and building codes also protect property. At the very least, in communities such as Emerald Isle, where building codes are enforced, failed structures are less likely to act as agents of destruction in the event of a severe weather event. Seventh, curving roads protect property. Unfortunately, roads that are oriented perpendicular to the shoreline are ubiquitous in barrier island communities. This is an unfortunate situation as these roads effectively act as conduits for storm surge and overwash. Better to have curving roads such as Land's End and Emerald Isle, or roads that are obliquely angled from the shoreline. Eighth, building over and around dunes protect property. Cutting notches in dunes for better views, easier construction, or beach access is common practice in many barrier island subdivisions. These notches also act as overwash conduits. Again, better to build over or around dunes. Think of Pine Knoll Shores and Land's End in Emerald Isle, for example. Ninth, and not least, hard engineered stabilization projects do not protect property. Overwhelming evidence, historical and experimental, have conclusively demonstrated that low seawalls do not protect buildings and high seawalls do not protect beaches. Think of Monmouth Beach in New Jersey. Terminal groins, such as those found in Cape May, New Jersey, basically rob Peter to pay Paul. They trap sediment on one side and intensify erosion on the other. Thankfully, only a few barrier island communities in North Carolina, North Topsail, Holden Beach, Ocean Isle, and Bald Head Island, have seriously evaluated hard stabilization options for property protection. And only one, Bald Head Island, has constructed a terminal groin in an effort to inhibit shoreline retreat. If you desire to live where you vacation, you become a member of a very exclusive fraternity. And there is an equally exclusive fraternity of brokers who live on bogue banks and who are capable of advising you on acquiring or selling barrier island property. I am a member of both exclusive fraternities. I've owned direct oceanfront properties in Emerald Isle for over 20 years. My family and our properties have survived numerous hurricanes, nor'easters, and other weather events without any significant damage to home or land. Indeed, I have watched the dunes and the beach in front of our homes accrete significantly. I had the good fortune to know about Dr. Orrin Pilkey's research on bogue banks, and his data guided us in our purchases. And I will use this research, coupled with my own hard-earned knowledge of living on bogue banks, to help guide you in your island real estate purchase. As your broker, I can identify the natural features of barrier islands, their beaches, frontal and interior dune fields, maritime forests, and marshes, and know how these natural features are impacted by wind, waves, current, and storm surges. I can recognize and make you aware and hopefully direct you away from hazards such as inlets, potential overwash areas, flooding, and low elevation sites. I can speak to site-specific property mitigation strategies that incorporate repairing and restoring a property to its natural settings where feasible, such as rebuilding dunes or planting vegetation. And I can summarize a community's collective attitude towards living with the rules of the sea. I live where you vacation, and when you choose to do the same, I hope you will engage my services. You will be glad that you did. Return next week to the same bat channel at the same bat time of 9 a.m. on Thursday for another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist.